The small bathroom was warm and steamy from the hot water I had just turned off. I was still holding my toothbrush, scrubbing gently, when the door slammed shut so hard the mirror rattled. Froze. My heart gave a quick jump when I saw my daughter, Emily, standing at the door. Her arms were crossed tightly over her chest. Her eyes narrowed into a glare that could cut through stone. She didn't look like she had come in here to talk. She looked like she had come to attack. "What did you do with the money?" she demanded, her voice already raised. My eyebrows pulled together. "Money? What money are you talking about, Emily? Don't play stupid with me," she snapped, stepping forward so quickly that I took a small step back toward the sink. Her voice was sharp, slicing through the quiet hum of the bathroom fan. "Emily, I don't know what you're talking about," I said softly, trying to stay calm. My hands were still wet from washing my face, and I felt my fingers trembling. "Please lower your voice. Your father." "That's the point," she interrupted with a bitter little laugh. "I want him to hear. I want him to hear what a useless, lying woman you are." The words stung. My throat felt tight. "Why are you saying this? I've done nothing to you." She stepped closer until she was only a foot away. I could smell the strong perfume she liked to wear, mixed with a faint scent of toothpaste from the sink. She leaned in slightly. "You went through my drawer yesterday. You think I didn't see you? I was just looking for a towel," I explained. "I didn't touch your things." Her eyes hardened. "You're lying." Before I could move, she shoved me. The edge of the sink dug painfully into my side. I gripped it to steady myself. "Emily, stop this," I pleaded. My voice cracked in a way that made me feel small. She gave me a slow, mocking smile. "Why? You think you can tell me what to do? This is my house now. You just live here." "This is our home," I said quietly, but my words felt powerless in the air between us. She moved sideways, positioning herself right in front of the bathroom door so I couldn't leave. Her body blocked the only way out, her shadow stretching toward me under the dim yellow light. My eyes darted around, looking for some kind of escape. That's when I saw it, up in the far right corner near the ceiling. Tiny, faint red blinking light. It was so small you wouldn't notice it unless you were looking for it. For a moment I thought maybe it was part of the smoke detector, but the way it blinked, slow, steady, it felt different. "Emily, what is that?" asked, pointing toward it. Her eyes followed my finger. For just a second her expression changed. Not fear but annoyance, like I had touched on something she didn't want to discuss. Then she smirked. "Don't worry about it," she said flatly. The words sent a chill down my spine. I swallowed. "Emily. Is that a camera?" She tilted her head slightly. "Why would there be a camera here?" "You tell me," I said, my voice a little sharper now. Instead of answering, she stepped forward suddenly, forcing me to back up until my hips hit the sink again. "You're not changing the subject," she said. "Where's my money?" I shook my head. "I haven't taken anything from you." Her voice rose another notch. "You're lying, and I can't stand liars." She grabbed my arm, squeezing so hard I felt my skin burn under her grip. I tried to pull away, but she held on. "You're hurting me," I said. "That's the idea," she replied coldly. The bathroom felt smaller and hotter with every passing second. My chest felt tight, my breath shallow. "Emily, I'm your mother," I said, trying to reach the part of her that might still care. "I raised you. Love you. We don't need to do this." She gave a short, humorless laugh. "Love? Don't talk to me about love. You're in my way. You've been in my way for years." My heart sank. "In your way? For what?" "For everything," she said simply. "And I'm done letting you control anything in this house." The words cut deep, but I didn't have time to process them before she shoved me again. Harder this time. My shoulder hit the mirror. I heard a dull thud, felt the sting shoot down my arm. "I'm not controlling anything," I said, my voice shaking. "I just want peace." "Then give me my money," she shouted, her face now only inches from mine. "I didn't take it," I whispered. Her eyes were wild. She let go of my arm only to grab my shoulders, pushing me back. I stumbled, my heel hitting the wet part of the floor near the shower. "Stop this, please," I said. But she didn't stop. She shoved again, a violent push that sent me spinning sideways. My foot slipped on the tile. I felt my body falling and then, clack. The corner of the sink slammed against the side of my head. Pain exploded instantly, white and hot. My ears rang. The whole room seemed to tilt. I collapsed onto the floor, cheek pressed to the cold tile. My vision blurred, but in the haze, I thought I saw the red light blinking again. Slow, steady. Like it was recording every single second of this nightmare. The sound of Emily's breathing was above me. Fast, uneven. Then, as my consciousness began to fade, I heard her mutter, almost to herself, "That's going to look good on the video." And then nothing, cold. That was the first thing I felt when I opened my eyes. The bathroom floor was icy against my cheek, and my head throbbed so hard I thought it might split open. The bright ceiling light above me hurt my eyes. I winced and tried to move, but pain shot down my neck and into my shoulder. My hands felt weak, like they didn't belong to me. Somewhere nearby, water was dripping from the faucet. Drip, 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 each sound louder than it should have been. When I turned my head slightly, the world spun. My stomach lurched. Then I remembered. Emily. A shove. A fall. A crack. Slowly, I pushed myself up into a sitting position. My palm came away from the floor wet, not just with water but something darker. My fingers were red. Blood. The sight made my heart pound harder. I reached up and touched the side of my head. The skin was tender and sticky, and the moment my fingertips pressed against it, a sharp wave of pain made me gasp. "Finally awake," Emily's voice said from somewhere in front of me. I blinked, trying to focus. She was leaning casually against the doorframe now, arms crossed, as if the last few minutes had been nothing but a mild argument. What happened?" I asked, though I already knew. "You fell," she said simply. "You pushed me," I corrected, my voice shaking. She tilted her head and smiled faintly. "Did I?" The red light in the corner caught my eye again, blinking like a small, patient heartbeat. Pointed at it. "That camera, is it on?" Her smile widened. "Of course it's on." My mouth went dry. "Why?" I shrugged. "Insurance." "What kind of insurance is filming your own mother in the bathroom?" I asked, my voice rising. The smirk faded slightly, replaced with something colder. "The kind where people believe what they see, not what they hear. And I'm going to make sure they see exactly what I want them to see." Her words sent a fresh wave of fear through me. I tried to stand, but the moment I put weight on my left leg, my knee buckled. I reached for the sink for support, breathing hard. Emily stepped forward, watching me like a hawk. "Don't get up too fast, Mom. Wouldn't want you to hurt yourself again." "That's enough, Emily," I said, trying to sound firm, though my voice trembled. "This has gone too far." She took another step, her shoes clicking softly against the tile. "No, Mom. This is just getting started." Her tone was too calm, calmer than it should have been, and that scared me more than her shouting earlier. "What do you want from me?" I asked. "I already told you," she replied. "My money." "I don't have it," I said. She gave a slow sigh, as if I were a child refusing to admit to a broken vase. "You see, that's the problem. I don't believe you." I took a deep breath. "Emily, if I had it, I would give it to you right now. I swear." Her eyes searched my face for a long moment. Then, without warning, she turned and reached behind the toilet tank, pulling out a small black object. A second camera, this one handheld. My stomach dropped. She held it up, pressed a button, and the tiny screen lit up, showing the bathroom from a high angle. It was a live feed from the blinking red light in the corner. "You see, Mom," she said softly, "I like to have more than one angle." My breath caught. "Why? Why would you want this?" She stepped closer until the lens was inches from my face. "Because when people watch this later, they'll see a crazy old woman attacking her own daughter. And they'll believe me." "That's not true," I said quickly, shaking my head. That's not what happened. Her lips curved into a smile that didn't reach her eyes. It will be when I'm done editing. The blood roared in my ears. Had to get out. I'm leaving, I said, trying to push past her. But she moved to block me, pressing her palm flat against the door. Oh no, you're not. Emily, this is wrong. This is sick. Maybe, she said. But it works. For a moment, neither of us moved. The bathroom fan hummed above us. My heartbeat pounded in my head. Then, in a sudden burst, I tried to shove past her again. My hand hit the door handle, but before I could turn it, she grabbed my wrist and twisted. I cried out, the pain sharp and instant. She leaned in close to my ear and whispered, "You make a scene and I'll make sure they see it." Her grip loosened just enough for me to pull away, cradling my wrist. My breathing was shallow now, every inhale shaky. I looked at the door again, then at the red light, then back at her. What would your father think if he saw this? Yes. She paused, then gave a chilling little laugh. He already has. The words froze me in place. What do you mean? Yes. Her smile was pure satisfaction. Let's just say, he's helping me get the right shots. And that's when I realized. The blinking red light wasn't the only camera in the house. My chest tightened, and a cold wave ran through me. He's helping her. I couldn't believe it. My husband, the man I had spent decades with, the one who had promised to protect me, was on her side. He was watching, recording, planning. I stumbled backward, trying to find some space between myself and Emily. The bathroom felt smaller now, suffocating, almost like the walls were closing in. Mom! Emily's voice was too calm. You okay? I shook my head, my voice trembling. No, I'm not okay. You, both of you, this is wrong. She raised an eyebrow, smirk still in place. Wrong. Who decides what's right? You. Me. He does too, actually. He knows everything that's happening. I felt my knees weaken. My hand gripped the edge of the sink. My vision swam with the red blinking light in the corner. Every blink felt like it was marking my fear, my shame, my helplessness. You're lying, I whispered. Emily tilted her head and whispered, check for yourself. My hands shook as I searched the room for another camera. I knew there was one somewhere, hidden where only a trained eye could spot. And then, I noticed it. Small, almost invisible, tucked behind the towel rack. Its tiny lens reflected the bathroom light back at me like an unblinking eye. Gasp. Emily's smirk widened. Found it, huh? You can't stop it, Mom. You can't even escape it. I felt tears prick at the corners of my eyes. The betrayal was too much. The house I had loved, the family I had raised. It was a trap. My hand trembled, and I pressed it against my forehead. Every thought felt heavy. Every breath came in short, panicked gasps. You're insane, I whispered to Emily. She laughed softly. Maybe. Or maybe I'm just smarter than you. You see, Mom, I've learned from watching you. From watching me. I stared at her. Confusion and terror battled in my chest. What do you mean? She leaned closer, voice low and menacing. I learned how weak you are. How easy it is to manipulate. How much you fear him. My husband. I tried to speak, but my throat felt tight. I couldn't find words. My body shook, not just from fear, but from rage and disbelief. You're both monsters. I finally managed to choke out. Emily shrugged. Call us what you want. It won't change reality. I tried to think fast. I needed a plan, a way out. My eyes darted around the room, looking for anything I could use to protect myself or escape. A door. The small window above the tub. My cell phone back in my bedroom, far from reach. Panic pressed down on me like a heavy weight. I felt trapped, cornered, helpless. Then footsteps. Not Emily's. Not mine. Another set of footsteps, slow, measured, approaching the bathroom. Froze. My heart hammered in my chest. Emily looked toward the door. He's coming, she said calmly. I told him to check the angle. My blood ran cold. The door creaked open slowly, And there he was. My husband. The man I had trusted all my life. His face was pale, almost unreadable, but his eyes were cold. He didn't speak. He just looked at me, and in that look was everything I had feared. Judgment, control, calculation. Emily waved her hand lazily. Mom, don't mind him. He's just here to make sure we capture the moment perfectly. I swallowed hard, my throat dry. My knees felt weak. I gripped the sink tightly, feeling the ceramic dig into my fingers. What are you doing? I whispered, voice shaking. He said nothing. He only stepped closer, leaning slightly toward the camera I had just discovered. He adjusted it slightly, checking the lens. Then he looked at me again. His expression was unreadable, but his silence was louder than any words could be. I wanted to scream. I wanted to run. I wanted to vanish. But the bathroom was small, and I was trapped. Emily stepped forward again, blocking me. You know, Mom, it's really cute how you try to act brave, she said. But we've done this before. Haven't we? I tried to remember. But my mind was a fog. All I could think about was getting out, getting help, surviving. I won't. I whispered. She interrupted. Oh, you will. You will, because you have no choice. You're completely in our hands. The words struck me like a hammer. No choice. Ends. Control. Fear. Shame. Betrayal. All at once, I felt something snap inside me. A tiny spark of defiance, barely noticeable, but there. I could feel my pulse racing. I could hear the soft hum of the fan above us. My ears rang from the adrenaline coursing through me. Emily leaned closer again, her voice a whisper now. You should just give in, Mom. Make it easier for yourself. I shook my head slowly. I won't. Her smirk faded, replaced by frustration. She stepped closer, raised her hand. Flinched. But before she could strike, a loud thump came from behind me. My head jerked toward the sound. It was the bathroom window. Small, high, but open just enough to let a faint breeze slip in. I realized then, even in this trap, there might be a way out. Emily noticed me looking. Don't even think about it, she warned, voice sharp. If you try anything, it'll be worse. I bit my lip, my mind spinning. I needed a plan. I needed time. Then my husband spoke, softly, almost casually. Make sure you get it from the right angle next time. The words hit me like a punch to the stomach. He had been recording. All along. He had been the one helping her. Watching. Judging. Controlling. I felt my stomach twist in knots. My body shook with a mix of fear and anger. I wanted to scream. I wanted to cry. I wanted to run. But the bathroom was small, and my body still weak from the fall earlier. Emily noticed my trembling and smiled. You're scared. That's good. You should be scared. I sank to my knees, gripping the edge of the sink. My mind raced, searching for any possible escape. But there was none. Not yet. The red light in the corner blinked steadily. The small handheld camera in her hand recorded every movement, every expression. My fear, my pain, my humiliation, all being captured. I pressed my forehead to the cool tiles, trying to steady my breathing. Then Emily stepped closer and shoved me again. I stumbled backward, hit the sink, and my head cracked sharply against the corner. Pain exploded through me. My vision blurred. My ears rang. I sank to the floor. The red light blinked in my blurry vision. My body felt heavy, numb. And then darkness. The first thing I felt when I opened my eyes was the sting on my head. My hair was damp and stuck to my forehead, and the cold tiles pressed uncomfortably against my cheek. I tried to sit up, but my body was heavy and uncooperative. My head throbbed with a relentless pain that made every heartbeat echo in my skull. As my eyes adjusted to the dim light, I realized I was still in the bathroom. The steam hung thick in the air, making it hard to breathe. My vision blurred as I looked around, searching for any sign of Emily. But she wasn't there. For a moment I felt a small surge of relief. Maybe she had left, maybe I had a chance to escape. Then I noticed it. The red blinking light in the corner, relentless, patient, like an unblinking eye. My heart sank. It wasn't just Emily. It was him too. My husband. I remembered her words from before. He's helping me get the right shots. I shook my head, trying to focus. My body was weak, trembling with fear and rage. How could he do this to me? How could the man I had trusted my whole life be recording this, planning this, helping her? I forced myself to stand, leaning against the cold sink for support. Every movement sent sharp pains through my head and shoulder, but I had to keep going. I had to see, to understand, to survive. I noticed another camera, small and almost invisible, tucked behind the towel rack. My fingers brushed it carefully, and I realized it was another recording device, pointed directly at the sink where I had fallen. I swallowed hard. There was no escaping this house. Not yet. I slowly moved toward the bathroom door, careful not to make noise. My mind raced, trying to find a plan. The front door was locked. My phone was in the bedroom. But maybe I could call for help if I could get out of this room. Just as I reached the door handle, I heard footsteps. Slow, deliberate, approaching from the hallway. Froze. The bathroom door creaked open, and my husband stepped in. His face was calm, almost too calm, but his eyes were cold, calculating. He didn't speak. He just looked at me, and in that look was every betrayal I had feared. Emily followed him in, folding her arms and smiling. "Don't worry, Mom," she said softly. "We just want to make sure everything is perfect." I backed away, my heart hammering. Perfect. This is a nightmare. A shrug. Your opinion doesn't matter. My mind raced. I needed proof. I needed evidence. I needed a way out before they could hurt me further. I scanned the room, looking for anything I could use. The sink, the towel rack, even the small window above the tub, anything. Emily noticed my gaze. "Looking for a way out?" she asked, her tone mocking. I nodded slightly, trying to hide my panic. I need to go. I can't stay here like this." She laughed softly. "You can try, Mom, but you won't get far." My husband finally spoke, his voice calm, almost soothing. "You should stay calm. It'll be easier for everyone." I clenched my fists, trying to hold back tears. You're both sick." Emily smiled, leaning closer. "Maybe. Or maybe we're just smart enough to get what we want." The room felt smaller, hotter. The red light blinked relentlessly. My body trembled with fear and anger. I knew I had to act fast. Slowly, I moved toward the towel rack, pretending to steady myself. My fingers brushed the small camera hidden behind it. I grabbed it quickly, holding it close to my chest. Emily noticed immediately. "Mom, what are you doing?" I swallowed hard. I just need this." She stepped forward, her smile fading. "Give it to me." I shook my head, holding it tightly. "No." My husband stepped closer, his face unreadable. "Let her have it," he said quietly. Emily's eyes narrowed. "Why?" "Because," he said softly, "we need her to see the consequences. Let her feel it for herself." My heart pounded. I didn't understand. What did that mean? Emily lunged toward me, trying to grab the camera. I twisted away, and she stumbled slightly. I seized the moment and made a run for the door. My legs were weak, but adrenaline pushed me forward. Emily screamed, a high, piercing sound. "Stop her!" I reached the hallway, my hands trembling, my head pounding. I could hear them behind me, moving quickly, following. I spotted the staircase. Maybe if I could make it down, I could reach the front door. Maybe I could escape. I ran, my feet slipping slightly on the polished floor. Pain shot through my head and shoulder, but I didn't stop. I reached the bottom of the stairs and froze. The front door was open. But outside, standing on the porch, was a figure I didn't recognize at first. Then I realized. It was the neighbor, Mrs. Helen. Her eyes widened when she saw me, and she whispered urgently. "Quick! Come with me." I didn't hesitate. I ran toward her, and she pulled me behind a bush just outside the porch. Mom, what happened? She asked, her voice low. They. I couldn't finish. My chest heaved. Emily and my husband. They're recording me. Everywhere. Mrs. Helen's eyes widened. I saw it. I knew something was wrong. That's why I've been watching. Tears filled my eyes. Relief mixed with fear. At least someone knew. At least someone could help. I clutched her arm, my body shaking. I need to stop them. I need to. Before I could finish, I heard a voice from behind the house. Mom, where are you going? Emily's voice. And then the sharp click of a camera shutter. My blood ran cold. They had me. Even here outside I was still being watched. Mrs. Helen grabbed my hand. We need to move. Now. I nodded, my mind racing. Every step I took was heavy with fear. Every sound around me felt like it was amplified. We ran down the narrow path beside the house, moving quickly but quietly. I could hear Emily yelling, cursing, trying to find us. I tripped slightly, my body weak from the fall earlier, but Helen caught me immediately. Almost there, she whispered. Just a little further. We reached a small shed at the edge of the yard. Helen opened the door and pulled me inside. It was dark, cramped but safe for now. I sank to the floor, my back against the wall, and tried to calm my racing heart. Mrs. Helen handed me a bottle of water. Drink, she said. I took it shakily, my hands trembling. They're everywhere, I whispered. Helen shook her head. Not anymore. I have a plan. But you need to be careful. Every move you make matters now. I nodded, trying to focus. My head still throbbed, but determination began to replace the fear. I couldn't let them control me. I couldn't let them win. Then, through the small window of the shed, I saw the red light blinking in the distance, a reminder that they were still watching, still recording, still waiting. And I knew this fight had just begun. The shed was dark, cramped, and smelled of old wood and dust. I sank to the floor, leaning my back against the wall, trying to calm my shaking hands and racing heart. Mrs. Helen crouched beside me, her face serious. They won't expect you to fight back, she said softly. But you can. You have to be careful, but you can stop them. I shook my head. Helen, they've set up cameras everywhere. They know everything I do. She placed a hand on mine. Then you have to use that against them. You need to think smart, not fast. Observe. Plan. Wait for the right moment. I nodded slowly, my mind spinning. Every detail of the house, every camera, every corner I had seen, replayed in my mind like a dangerous map. My body still ached from the fall, my head pounding, but determination started to replace fear. I looked around the shed. It was small but secure. The door was thick and made of old wood. The windows were tiny. For the first time I felt a small spark of hope. First, Helen whispered, you need evidence. Not just to protect yourself, but to expose them. I swallowed hard. I don't know how. They're too smart. They have cameras everywhere. Even now they could be watching me. Exactly why we have to be smarter, Helen replied. You need to act like you're scared, like you're trapped. But secretly, you're collecting information. I nodded again, trying to steady my trembling hands. I knew she was right. The cameras, the recordings, the constant surveillance. All of it could be used against them if I was clever. We spent hours in that shed. Helen helped me mark a plan, sketching out the house layout on a piece of scrap paper. Every corner, every camera, every door and window. She showed me ways to sneak around, ways to hide, ways to observe without being seen. I felt exhausted, but a small sense of power started to grow. For the first time since the abuse started, I felt like I could do something. Night fell outside, and the world became darker and quieter. I sat in the corner, trying to calm my breathing, listening to the soft sounds of the house in the distance. Every creak, every whisper of wind, every faint noise from the windows made my heart race. Suddenly I froze. A soft click came from outside the shed. Helen motioned for me to stay silent. We listened. A shadow passed the window. Small, cautious, deliberate. It's Emily, Helen whispered. She's looking for you. I felt a shiver run down my spine. My stomach twisted. She was relentless. She would never give up. We stayed completely still as the shadow moved past the window. I could see her faint outline, her hair catching a little moonlight. She stopped, looked around, and then continued, disappearing into the darkness. I exhaled slowly, relief washing over me. But the fear remained. She was still out there. Helen spoke softly. They'll try to scare you, but you can't let them. You have to be ready for the next move. I nodded again. My mind raced with ideas, trying to think of how to gather proof, how to record them, how to turn the tables. But every idea seemed risky. Every action could be watched. Every step could be trapped. Hours passed, the night deep and silent. I stayed crouched in the corner, heart pounding, trying to rest while remaining alert. Then, as the first faint light of dawn crept into the shed, a sudden terrifying thought hit me. I realized Emily and my husband could be planning something even worse. They had already pushed me to the edge, already humiliated me, already injured me. And now they would escalate. I could hear soft noises outside. Faint footsteps, whispers. My stomach knotted. Helen motioned for me to be quiet. Stay low. Don't move. Watch. I pressed my back further into the corner, holding my breath. The sounds grew louder, more deliberate. Suddenly, the door of the shed rattled. A strong hand tried to push it open. "Mom!" Emily's voice shouted from the other side that I froze. My heart jumped. Helen whispered sharply. "Hold still." The door shook again, harder this time. The hinges screeched. I could feel the force behind the push. Emily's voice rose, full of fury and panic. "You think you can hide from me? I will find you." My pulse raced. My head pounded. Then, just as quickly as it started, the shaking stopped. Silence fell over the shed. I exhaled slowly, trying to calm my trembling body. Helen leaned close. "They won't stop. They'll keep trying until they get you. We have to move soon before it's too late." I nodded, fear and determination mixing in equal measure. I couldn't stay here forever. I had to act. Had to fight back. Suddenly another sound. Faint mechanical beep. My eyes widened. "Helen, that's a camera." She nodded grimly. "Even here, they've planted something. They know where you go, what you do. They are everywhere." I felt trapped again, panic rising. But then I realized something. If they were so confident, if they were so sure I couldn't fight back, maybe I could use that against them. I straightened slightly, trying to mask the fear that still gripped me. My hands still shook, but my mind started working. If I could expose the cameras, if I could catch them in the act, if I could prove they were abusing me, maybe, just maybe, I could finally turn the tables. But before I could even think about the plan fully, a sharp knock rattled the shed door. Emily's voice shouted again, louder this time. "Mom! I know you're in there. Come out now." I felt a cold sweat break out across my forehead. My stomach twisted with fear and dread. Helen grabbed my hand. "We have to move. Now." I nodded, gripping her hand tightly. Together, we slipped out of the shed into the pale morning light, moving quietly but quickly. I glanced back at the shed. The red blinking light in the distance, from the hidden camera I had noticed earlier, seemed to pulse as if it knew I was watching, knew I was planning, knew I was fighting back. I swallowed hard. And then, from behind the nearest tree, a sudden movement. Emily appeared, her face twisted with rage, her hands reaching toward us. Helen pushed me behind a bush just in time as Emily lunged forward, missing by inches. My heart raced. I could hear her yelling, screaming, cursing. And then the sound of my husband's voice. Calculated. "Make sure you get it from every angle," he said softly. My blood ran cold. They were still watching. They were still recording. And this time, I knew I couldn't run forever. The early morning light barely reached the dense trees around us. My heart still pounded from the close encounter with Emily, her rage, and my husband's cold instructions from behind the shadows. I pressed my back against a thick trunk, trying to steady my breathing, and felt Helen's hand on my shoulder. "We have to keep moving," she whispered. I nodded, my body still trembling, my head pounding from the fall and the constant stress. Every sound in the forest, rustling leaves, snapping branches, made me flinch. Every moment could be the moment they found us. But this time something inside me had shifted. Fear was still there, but determination began to override it. I couldn't stay a victim. I couldn't let them control me any longer. Helen led me to a small clearing, hidden from the road and the house. She had prepared supplies, water, snacks, and a small backpack with tools and items that could help me gather evidence. "Listen carefully," she said. "We only have one chance to turn this around. You have to be smart, careful, and patient. They'll be watching, listening, recording everything. But if you're strategic, you can expose them." I nodded, swallowing hard. "I understand. I have to be careful." Helen handed me a small device, a portable camera recorder. "We can't rely on luck. You have to record them. Every word, every action. It's the only way to prove what they've done." I held it in my hands, feeling a tiny spark of hope. Maybe I could finally get justice. "We'll start small," Helen continued. "Observe first. Don't confront them yet. Wait for the right moment. And never trust that they aren't watching." I took a deep breath and nodded again. My mind began to plan. We stayed in the clearing for hours, watching the house from a distance. I spotted movement, Emily pacing, checking doors and windows. My husband appeared on the porch at times, holding a camera, seemingly calm but clearly involved. I felt a mix of fear and fury. How could he betray me like this? How could someone I loved and trusted be working with the person who hurt me the most? Helen placed a hand on my arm. "We'll expose them. You're not alone." Her words gave me strength. I realized that even in this situation I still had allies. I still had a chance. As the sun climbed higher, I decided to act. I moved closer to the house under the cover of trees and shadows, recording Emily and my husband as they continued their surveillance. Every small movement, every glance, every word was captured on my recorder. I felt my hands shaking, but I pushed forward. Every moment I stayed hidden, every careful step, brought me closer to the evidence I needed. Suddenly, Emily noticed something. Her head snapped in my direction, eyes narrowing. I froze, heart hammering. She didn't see me fully, but she knew something was off. She ran toward the side of the house, shouting for my husband. I ducked behind a tree, pressing the recorder tightly against my chest. My pulse raced. Helen whispered in my ear, "Stay calm. Let them pass. We'll move later." I nodded, barely breathing. The seconds felt like hours. Eventually, they returned inside the house, unaware of the recordings I had captured. I exhaled slowly, relief washing over me. But the danger wasn't over. I knew they would escalate. I knew they would try to trap me again. That night, we moved closer, sneaking into the house when Emily and my husband were distracted. I had the recorder hidden in my bag, capturing every word, every action. It was risky, terrifying, but it was the only way. I watched as Emily organized her equipment, adjusting cameras and reviewing footage. My stomach twisted. She looked powerful, confident, in control. Exactly how she wanted to appear. My husband entered the room, carrying a new camera. He placed it on a tripod, adjusting the angle. My blood ran cold. They were meticulous. They had everything planned. Every angle, every detail, every step. I stayed hidden, recording them silently. Every word they spoke, every plan they discussed became proof that I could use to expose them. Hours passed. My body ached from staying still, my head pounding from the stress and previous injuries. But finally I had enough evidence. Enough to fight back. Helen whispered, "We have what we need. Now we wait for the right moment to act." I nodded, exhausted but determined. Suddenly, Emily's voice cut through the silence. "I know you're out there, Mom. You can't hide forever." My heart skipped a beat. I whispered to Helen, "She knows." Helen's eyes were sharp. Then we have to act faster. Tonight we make our move. I swallowed hard, fear and determination mixing in equal measure. I realized that this was the moment that would decide everything, whether I remained a victim or finally took control. As night fell, we prepared. The house was quiet, but I knew it wouldn't stay that way. Every step, every sound, every decision could be critical. We waited, hidden in the shadows, the recorder capturing every detail. I could hear my heart pounding in my chest, my hands trembling with anticipation and fear. Then suddenly a sharp sound, a floorboard creaking upstairs. Emily was moving, checking rooms, unaware that we were watching, recording, planning. I felt a surge of adrenaline. This was it. The moment to act. Helen whispered, "Stay ready. We move on my signal." I nodded, gripping the recorder tightly, my mind focused. Every second counted. Then the front door opened. My husband stepped out, carrying another camera, smiling faintly. Froze, my pulse racing. Helen whispered, "Now." We moved quickly, silently into position. I could feel my heart pounding, my body trembling with fear and determination. The moment of confrontation was coming. And then a loud crash from inside the house. Emily screamed, my blood ran cold. They were finally aware. But I was ready. The moment had arrived. The crash from inside the house had echoed through the yard, a warning that Emily and my husband were aware of our presence. My hands trembled as I gripped the recorder, my heart pounding like a drum in my chest. Every sound, the rustling leaves, the distant hum of the street, the soft crack of a branch underfoot, made my pulse spike. Helen whispered sharply, "Stay low. Move only when I say." I crouched behind a thick bush, my body pressed to the ground, my eyes fixed on the house. The windows glowed with faint light, casting eerie shadows across the walls. Every shadow seemed alive, moving with intention, as if it could reach out and grab me at any moment. "Remember," Helen murmured, "the plan is simple. Record, observe, expose. Nothing else." I nodded, swallowing hard. My throat was dry, my stomach twisted with fear, but determination began to anchor me. I had worked too hard to stop now. Slowly, Helen motioned toward a side entrance, a door that Emily often used but had forgotten to lock properly. I followed her, my steps silent, careful, every muscle tense. We reached the door, and Helen motioned for me to stay behind while she checked inside. She returned after a moment, her face grim. "They're distracted," she whispered. "Now's the moment." I pressed the recorder to my chest, every nerve on fire. My eyes scanned the interior through the glass panels of the door. Emily was inside, adjusting cameras, moving with that smug confidence that had made me so afraid. My husband was nearby, reviewing footage, oblivious to our presence outside. I took a deep breath. The plan was risky, terrifying even, but it was the only way to finally turn the tables. I would record them, every word, every action, and expose them. Helen handed me a small mirror, angled just right. "You can see inside without being seen. Don't move unless necessary." I nodded, positioning it carefully. My hands shook slightly, but I forced myself to stay still. Every second felt like an eternity. Suddenly, Emily looked up, her eyes narrowing. She paused, as if sensing something. My heart leapt into my throat. "She knows," I whispered to Helen. "She may sense, but she won't see," Helen replied softly. "Stay calm." I stayed crouched, barely breathing, as Emily moved around the room. She adjusted the tripod, checked the angles, and whispered to my husband. "I think we've got her," she said, her voice dripping with satisfaction. My stomach twisted. They were confident, arrogant, certain of their control. But I knew they were being watched themselves. My recorder captured everything. Every word, every action, every cruel plan. Helen motioned. "Now, move quietly to the next vantage point. Get a better angle." I moved slowly, keeping low, using the shadows and the walls for cover. My heart hammered with every step. I could hear my own breathing loud in my ears, but I forced myself to stay calm. We reached a corner where I could see both Emily and my husband clearly. I adjusted the recorder, ensuring every movement, every conversation was captured. Emily laughed softly, a cruel, victorious sound. She won't escape this time. I've made sure of it. My stomach churned. But I stayed hidden, recording silently. My husband spoke next, his voice calm but chilling. Everything is perfect. Every detail captured. She won't know what hit her. I felt a surge of anger. How could he be so cold? How could he betray me like this? Helen whispered. Patience. Wait for the right moment. Then we act. We stayed in position for what felt like hours. Every second was tense, every noise amplified. I could hear Emily moving, clicking cameras, whispering orders. My husband monitored the footage, making adjustments, entirely absorbed in their cruel game. Finally, Helen nodded. Now. I pressed the recorder close, my fingers trembling, my heart racing. We moved quietly, silently, into the house through a small back entrance that Emily had neglected to lock properly. The floorboards creaked faintly under our careful steps. I held my breath, trying to make no sound. My heart hammered as we approached the room where Emily and my husband were still focused on their recordings. I peeked around the doorframe. Emily was adjusting a camera, completely unaware of our presence. My husband was near the desk, reviewing footage, still unaware. Helen whispered, "Stay low. Follow my lead." I crouched, moving silently behind her. We positioned ourselves so I could record both Emily and my husband without being seen. I pressed the button on the recorder. The red light blinked, capturing everything. Every word, every action, every cruel plan. All recorded. Emily laughed again, louder this time. She'll never know what hit her. Everything is perfect. She's trapped. My hands shook as I pressed the recorder tighter. I felt a surge of determination. They thought they were in control, but I had proof. I had a plan. Suddenly, my husband spoke again. Check the angle on the bathroom camera. Make sure we have every movement captured. My stomach twisted. They were thorough, meticulous. But now I had them too. Helen whispered, "Get ready. We're going to confront them." I nodded, my body tense, my mind focused. Every nerve was on fire. Then Emily suddenly turned. Her eyes widened. I felt something. Someone's here. My heart leapt. I froze, pressed to the ground. She stepped forward, scanning the room. My pulse raced. Helen whispered, "Stay calm. We're almost there." Emily's gaze shifted. She squinted, and her face twisted in anger. "Mom!" I held my breath, gripping the recorder tightly. Every muscle was tense. Suddenly, my husband noticed movement as well. "What's going on?" I realized they were both aware of something. Our presence, the recorder. Helen grabbed my hand. "Now we act. Be ready." I nodded, fear and determination mixing together. I stepped forward, revealing myself, holding the recorder high. "Stop. Everything you've done. It's all recorded." Emily gasped. Her face twisted in rage and disbelief. My husband froze, his face paling. "You can't do this," Emily shouted. I pressed the recorder closer. "I can and I will. Every word, every action, every camera you set up, I have proof. And everyone will know what you've done." My husband took a step back, trying to regain control. "You don't understand." But I ignored him. I was done being afraid. I was done being their victim. Suddenly, Emily lunged toward me, trying to grab the recorder. I ducked just in time, the red light blinking, capturing everything. Helen pushed Emily back. "Enough!" Emily screamed, rage and panic flooding her voice. My husband stood frozen, unsure how to respond. I felt a surge of triumph mixed with fear. This was it, the moment of exposure. And then, just as I thought we had control, a loud crash came from upstairs. Something heavy falling. Emily's scream cut through the house, terrifying and wild. Froze, my pulse racing. My hands shook. Helen whispered, "They've set a trap. Be careful. This isn't over yet." I realized the full danger. Even now, even with proof, they weren't done. They were still dangerous, still cunning, still ready to hurt me. And then, a shadow moved behind Emily. Gasp. My blood ran cold. The shadow behind Emily moved quickly, almost like a ghost in the dim light. My heart raced as I pressed the recorder closer, every nerve alert. Helen grabbed my hand, her eyes wide with fear but sharp with strategy. "They've set something up," she whispered. "Be ready for anything." I nodded, my body trembling. The adrenaline coursing through me made my hands shake, but my mind stayed focused. I could see Emily trying to maintain her composure, but panic was creeping in. She glanced around frantically, her movements jerky and uncoordinated. My husband, meanwhile, was frozen, a camera dangling from his hands. He hadn't expected me to confront them, and now, caught off guard, he looked terrified. I realized just how much power I held in this moment. Not just with the evidence I had, but with their fear. Helen whispered, "Stay calm. Don't let them see you scared. We have control now." I took a deep breath, trying to steady my pulse. I forced my hands to stop trembling and lifted the recorder higher. "It's over," I said firmly. "Everything is recorded. Every word, every plan, every camera you set up to spy on me. It's all proof." Emily's face twisted in rage. "You think you can just ruin us?" she shouted. "I already have," I replied, my voice steady. "And now everyone will know what you've done." My husband stammered, trying to regain control. You don't understand. You'll regret this." But I ignored him. I wasn't afraid anymore. Not of Emily, not of him, not of the years of abuse they had inflicted. Suddenly, there was a loud crash from upstairs. Something heavy had fallen, sending dust and small debris scattering across the floor. Emily screamed, panic surging through her voice. Helen grabbed my arm. "They've set a trap. Be careful. They're unpredictable." I moved quickly, ducking behind the nearest piece of furniture as Emily lunged toward the staircase. She seemed intent on confronting whatever had fallen, completely oblivious to the fact that I had the recorder in my hands. I could see the fear growing in her eyes now. She wasn't in control anymore. She was reacting, not planning. She was vulnerable. Helen whispered, "This is our chance. Stay calm and keep recording. Let them make the mistakes. Every moment counts." I nodded, pressing the recorder closer. My hands were steady now. I felt a surge of empowerment I hadn't felt in years. Emily tried to regain her composure, moving toward the fallen object upstairs. But in her haste, she tripped over the edge of a rug, crashing to the floor with a loud thud. My heart pounded as I captured every second on tape. My husband ran toward her, but I could see the panic in his eyes. He had no plan, no control. And for the first time I realized they were powerless against me. I moved slowly, carefully, keeping the recorder trained on both of them. Every motion, every word, every reaction was being captured. I had proof of everything. The abuse, the recordings, the manipulations. Helen whispered, "Keep going. Don't stop. We need everything." I nodded, my voice calm but firm. "You're done. No more lies. No more abuse. This ends now." Emily scrambled to her feet, but her confidence was gone. She was scared, panicked, unsure of what to do next. My husband hesitated, his usual calm demeanor replaced by fear. I stepped forward, keeping the recorder trained on them. "You thought you could control me, spy on me, hurt me, but it's over. Everyone will know the truth." Helen moved beside me, her presence steady and protective. "We're calling the authorities," she said. "And we have everything recorded. There's no escaping this." Emily's face twisted in fury. You can't. No one will believe you." I pressed the recorder closer. "They will. And this time there's no hiding. You won't get away with this." Suddenly, there was a loud crash. The trap they had set upstairs had finally triggered. A heavy shelf had fallen, sending glass and debris across the floor. Emily screamed again, panic flooding her voice. My husband stumbled backward, trying to avoid the falling objects. I felt my heart racing, but I stayed calm. This was it, the turning point. Helen whispered, "Now. Call them. Show the evidence. Don't hesitate." I nodded, pulling my phone from my pocket. Hands steady, I dialed 911, giving my location and explaining the situation. My voice was calm and clear, every detail precise. As I spoke, Emily and my husband realized what was happening. Their faces turned pale. They understood that their control was gone, that the evidence was undeniable. I hung up, turning to face them fully. "It's over," I said. "You will face the consequences of your actions. And everyone will know the truth." Emily tried one last desperate move, lunging at me. But Helen intercepted her, holding her back firmly. My husband tried to intervene, but I raised the recorder, showing the footage we had captured. The look on their faces was priceless. Fear, panic, and realization that their reign of control was over. Sirens wailed in the distance, growing louder. I could see the fear in Emily's eyes. My husband's hands trembled as he realized that help was on the way, and the truth was about to be exposed. I felt a wave of relief and empowerment wash over me. I had done it. I had taken control. I had recorded every moment, gathered proof, and finally confronted the people who had caused me so much pain. As the authorities arrived, Emily and my husband were caught in the act, their plans unraveling before my eyes. I handed over the recorder, every word, every action captured, leaving no room for doubt. Helen stood beside me, smiling. "You did it. You were brave, smart, and strong. You faced them and won." I nodded, tears streaming down my face. I finally feel free. The lesson was clear. No matter how trapped or powerless you feel, courage, strategy, and determination can help you reclaim your life. Abuse thrives in silence and fear, but truth and bravery can expose even the darkest secrets. And as I stood there, watching them being taken away, I knew my story could help others. People needed to know that no one should ever endure what I had. That strength and courage could overcome even the worst circumstances. If you or someone you know is experiencing abuse, don't stay silent. Speak up, seek help, and know that justice is possible. If you want to see how I recovered fully and rebuilt my life after everything, subscribe, like, and share this video. Comment below if you've ever faced a challenge you thought you couldn't overcome. Your story matters, and together we can inspire others to find their strength. Don't miss the final chapter, where I share the full aftermath and life lessons from surviving this nightmare. The house was quiet now, except for the faint echo of sirens that slowly faded into the distance. Emily and my husband had been taken away. Their reign of control and abuse finally halted. I sank into a chair, exhaustion and relief washing over me in equal measure. My body ached from months of fear, pain, and hiding, but my mind was clearer than it had been in years. Helen sat beside me, her presence comforting and strong. "You did it," she said softly. "You faced them and you proved everything. You're free now." I nodded, tears streaming down my face. Felt surreal. For so long I had lived in terror, feeling powerless and trapped. Now the tables had turned, and I had taken control of my life. The fear that had consumed me for so long had finally lifted, replaced by a quiet strength. The authorities were thorough. They reviewed the recordings, interviewed me, and confirmed every detail. Emily and my husband had meticulously planned their abuse, but every action, every word, every plan had been captured on my recorder. There was no denying the truth. As I recounted the events to the investigators, I realized how much power had been taken from me over the years, not just physically but emotionally. Every manipulation, every cruel word, every recorded moment of abuse had chipped away at my confidence and self-worth. But now, standing in the aftermath, I felt a sense of empowerment I had never known. Helen squeezed my hand. "You're not just surviving anymore," she said. "You're thriving. You've reclaimed your life." I smiled faintly. "It's strange," I said. "For so long I felt invisible. I felt like no one would believe me, like I was trapped in a nightmare that had no end. But now Now I see that even in the darkest moments there's a way out. There's always hope. The media caught wind of the story quickly. Local news stations reported on the case, highlighting the courage it took to expose the abuse. People were shocked, outraged, and inspired. Messages of support poured in from strangers who had experienced similar situations, sharing their stories and thanking me for speaking out. It was overwhelming, but in a good way. For the first time I felt heard, validated, and understood. The isolation I had endured for so many years was finally replaced by connection and support. Over the next few weeks, I worked on rebuilding my life. Simple things like walking freely through the house, sleeping without fear, and even laughing again became milestones. Every day, I reminded myself that I was no longer a victim. I had survived, and I had taken action to protect myself and expose the truth. I also realized the importance of using my story to help others. Abuse often thrives in silence, and by sharing what had happened to me, I could empower others to speak up, seek help, and reclaim their lives. Helen helped me set up a support group online, connecting survivors and providing resources for those in danger. The response was incredible. People shared their experiences, offered advice, and provided emotional support. I saw firsthand how one voice could inspire countless others to find their strength. One afternoon, as I sat in the quiet of my home, reflecting on everything that had happened, I received a letter from Emily's defense attorney. The letter confirmed that she and my husband were facing serious legal consequences. The judge had reviewed the evidence, and their trial would be swift. Justice finally was on its way. I felt a wave of relief and satisfaction. The fear, the manipulation, and the abuse were all documented, undeniable. The people who had caused me so much pain were finally being held accountable. As the days turned into weeks, I continued to rebuild my life. I reconnected with friends I had lost touch with, repaired relationships that had been strained by the abuse, and focused on my well-being. Simple joys, a walk in the park, a quiet cup of tea, reading a book, became powerful reminders that life could still be beautiful. But the biggest lesson I learned was about courage. Courage wasn't the absence of fear. It was taking action despite fear. Courage was standing up to those who had hurt me, gathering evidence, and reclaiming my life. Courage was also helping others find their voices and strength. I thought about the viewers who would hear my story on YouTube, the ones who might feel trapped in situations like mine. I wanted them to know that no matter how hopeless things may seem, they can take steps to protect themselves, gather evidence, and seek help. There is always a path to freedom and justice. Months later, Emily and my husband were convicted. The court proceedings were intense, but the evidence was undeniable. The judge praised my bravery and the meticulous records that had been captured. I left the courtroom feeling lighter than I had in years. A weight lifted, a chapter closed. I returned home, sitting on the porch in the warm afternoon sun. Helen joined me, smiling. "You've come a long way," she said. I nodded, thinking about the journey, the fear, the hiding, the confrontation, and finally the triumph. "I have," I admitted. "And I want others to know that they can too. They just need to be brave and seek support." I decided to create a final video message, sharing my story with the world. I spoke slowly, clearly, making sure every word reached those who needed to hear it. I explained how abuse often hides behind trust, how courage can overcome fear, and how seeking help and recording evidence can make a difference. The response was overwhelming. Messages poured in from people around the world, thanking me, sharing their experiences, and expressing hope that they too could find strength. My story had become a beacon for others, a reminder that even in the darkest times, there is a way forward. And as I reflected on everything, I realized the greatest lesson. Power lies not in those who abuse, but in those who have the courage to stand up, document the truth, and reclaim their lives. Fear may always linger, but it does not have to control us. I smiled, feeling a sense of peace and closure. My life was no longer defined by the abuse I had endured, but by the courage, strategy, and determination I had shown. I had survived, I had exposed the truth, and I had reclaimed my life. If you or someone you know is experiencing abuse, don't stay silent. Speak up, gather evidence, and seek help. You're not alone. Like, share, and subscribe to this channel to follow stories of courage and survival. And comment below if you face challenges that felt impossible to overcome. Your voice can inspire others and bring hope to those who need it most.